To the Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 Carteret County Board of Education meeting. We will start out our meeting by having East Carteret High School students Mary Resendez Garcia and McKenna Sinkler lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys will remain standing, we love pictures.
To do the first. Yeah. Do the invocation first. That's how it is on here. All right, if you'll bow your heads. Lord, thank you for bringing us together today, for giving us the opportunity to make decisions based on the path you've given us, a path of light, a path of thoughtfulness. Please keep these kids, their parents, and our staff on a path that keeps them happy, keeps them thoughtful, and keeps them safe for this year. Amen.
Thank you. Next up, we have three West Carteret High School students, juniors Isabel Hall and Kira Duncan, and senior Ben Lee, who won first place at the National Leadership Skills Conference in Atlanta, Georgia in June. They won in the category of Career Pathway Showcase, Health and Health Science. Their Skills USA leader is Pamela Zanaska. Is that correct? Okay, if you guys will come forward.
CTE.
Mrs. Chairman, I move to amend the agenda to add item 5.18, consider college advising corps' memorandum of instruction to serve the students of West Carteret High School on the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion to amend the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second that.
All right, I have a second by Mr. Jenkins. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
To approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Goodwin. Do I have a second? And a second by Mr. Jenkins. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. It is now time for public comment. Anyone present tonight wishing to make comment should have filled out a request to speak public comment form. To ensure civility, relevance, and time management, there are specific requirements for public comment set forth in school board policy. They include comments are limited to matters pertaining to public education. The speaker shall state his or her name at the beginning of his or her comment. Speaking time will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Assistant Superintendent Richie Paylor is our timekeeper. He will hold up a yellow card when the speaker has 30 seconds left and a red card when time is ended. Sorry, this is old. You'll see it on the television screen. For civility and decorum, no speaker shall make obscene remarks or issue personal attacks or insults. No complaint against a school employee or student will be permitted, although this may be heard in closed session at a later date following consultation with the superintendent. Much information about individual students, including a speaker's own child, is confidential under state and federal law, and we discourage and often prohibit such information in open session. The chairperson may immediately terminate any comments that violate these rules. Board members will not respond to questions except occasionally to request clarification. With that introduction, our first speaker tonight is Corey Baston.
All right, thank you.
Last week, I received a consent order that was sent home by for a research study that was being conducted by NC State University and Duke Marine Labs. That was, I think, paid for partially at least by the North Carolina Sea Grant. I looked over the research consent form, and it was pretty vague on what it wanted to accomplish. It mentioned resiliency in the ecosystem that we have here in Eastern North Carolina and how that pertains to our children's resilience and how they live everyday lives. Spoke to the researcher to try to get some more information. She was pretty vague. I was having a hard time figuring out the correlation between science class and resilience and how that worked together. She did give me some ideas and a couple of bullet points of what they were going to discuss, but it still was very, very vague because I said, what's your end goal of the study? If you're studying something. She was like, well, it's just how, kids come home and tell the parents, how, the ecosystem helps them out and how important the environment is. I said, okay. So I talked to her teacher, which I absolutely adore. And her teacher kind of told me the same thing, pretty vague as well. Still didn't have a good feeling about it, so I started digging around and I found quite a bit of articles discussing it. I'm going to let you listen to a 30-second clip from NPR. This is with the researcher that lives in Beaufort that's doing the study.
Researchers at NC State have identified factors that influence how kids think about.
So the whole goal of the study is to teach the children about resilience and climate change so they can come home and tell their parents what they should believe. That is the end goal of the whole study. It also gets the buy-in from the teachers because the teachers feel like they get to participate in what the curriculum ends up being, where normally they said there's a top-down, they were told what to do in the curriculum. Because the researchers came in and had a meeting with them, they get to feel important by creating a curriculum with the researchers. If you opt out, you're still going to have your child go through the curriculum because it's already built in the curriculum. So there is no real opt-out of the research study.
Thank you, Ms. Bayston. I appreciate it. Next up, we have Ms. Janet Woodward.
I didn't think this was on. Next time, it'll be on.
I think it's on. It's on. We can hear you. It's
I
on.
know you can hear me.
It's on.
Facing you. Okay. Why isn't it making I'm way beyond childbearing years. I came here to find out what's going on with the Board of Education, and I was really impressed. I was really impressed that you had invocation here. Beaufort doesn't have one at their town meetings any. I don't know why, but it's refreshing. I have 17 nieces and nephews, so I've always been interested in education. Now my nieces and nephews all have children going to school, and I'm very excited isn't the word. I'm very demoralized on what's happening with schools, education, with books that they can read and they can't read. They're taking away the decision-making from the well-educated teachers, and I hope this isn't going to happen in Carteret County. I was really impressed with the National Leadership Conference that these children from West Carteret have received. We have some really great kids in this county, and it's just wonderful. But the whole thing is the indoctrination of children with certain books and so what they can and cannot read. And I'm really surprised that parents will allow other people to decide on what their children read, not the educators, not the ones that have spent 4 years and 6 years and even 8 years to learn the best way to educate and assimilate kids in the schools. I grew up in public schools. It was either public school or a Catholic school in my area. So we all didn't want to wear uniforms, so we went to the public schools. And I wouldn't have met the diversity of people that I did at public schools if I went to a Catholic school. I think it's very important to support our public schools and not take the money away from public schools for private schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woodward. Next up, we have Kelly Riley.
Kelly Riley, and I'm here tonight representing my daughter. We had actually planned that Kelly would speak first, but I think I think we'll be able to do all right. Okay. My daughter is a national, state, and regional wrestling champion. And I'm here tonight to advocate for her because this is the first year that women's wrestling has been sanctioned in North Carolina. In April of 2022, we got the text at around 8 p.m. one evening, and let us know that it had been officially sanctioned. At that moment, the head coach at West Carteret High School, Kevin Smith, went to work. He went to work not only with his team, but with my daughter and with my husband and I, in planning what her life would be like her senior year as a female wrestler. Henley is not unique in that for over 30 years, there's been females wrestling in Carteret County on men's teams. Last year, though, Coach Smith had the foreseeability to consider running the team as a men's and women's so that we could go through the challenges. We're smart people, we could problem solve, and we could plan for the greatest year, the year that she gets to pioneer as being team captain of the very first women's wrestling team in Carteret County at West Carteret High School. We were very saddened to learn that there's not been funding allocated for a head coach or assistant coach for our women's team. Now, Kenley getting on the mat and wrestling men, which is what she's done for 6 years, almost 7 years, put all the gray hairs on this side of my head. Kenley not having a dedicated head coach in her senior year, but not just my daughter, the women that she's recruiting for this team, and we're hoping that they come by the numbers of 5 or 8 or 15. But explaining to those young girls that they will have a dedicated coach is paramount for their safety. The same thing is explaining to those parents that there would be a dedicated coach is paramount for the well-being and the mental state of those parents. Kenley, we did a great job last year. Her coaches somehow miraculously appeared on the side of that mat. They may have just jumped out of their cars from traveling 3 hours from a men's tournament to get to her tournament, but they did it. I never worried. This year, though, ladies and gentlemen, will be different. There's already a schedule. It's an incredible schedule. And I ask and I plead with you, please, to save the gray hairs on this side. Please consider funding for those important positions so that our children are cared for, they're motivated, and they're inspired. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Riley.
Perfect timing.
Kelly Riley, your turn.
Hello. All right. Good evening. My name is Kenley Riley, and I am a proud scholar athlete at West Carteret High School. I have wrestled varsity at West for the past 3 years and will continue to do so in my senior year. I am a conference and regional champion, a 3-time state place winner, and I compete on the national stage. Tonight, I am wearing 3 of my 38 medals that I have won individually in my high school career. During my time, I have witnessed and experienced firsthand the positive impact wrestling has on a person. It is an exciting time then for me, as for the past 6 years, I have wrestled only on men's team, and I have, for the past 3 years, been the only female wrestler at West Carteret High School. But in April of 2022, our state sanctioned women's wrestling, and this year is our first official year. We have been busy working hard to build women's wrestling teams at all of our schools. I was very disappointed to learn from my school and coaches that we will not have paid coaching staff for women's wrestling this year. As a dedicated and conscientious captain of West Carteret's first women's wrestling team, I need to tell my girls and their parents that they have a dedicated coach. I am going off script here a little bit, but last year it was hard, because I didn't know if I was on a men's team or a women's team. There were nights where I'm trying to go to bed early to be ready to wake up at 5 a.m. to drive the 4 hours to a women's wrestling tournament, because there's women's that's far. You have to travel a lot more than the men might have to. But I'm trying to text my coaches to get paperwork, because I'm in charge of my own paperwork, because I don't travel with a team. I have to text to see if I have a coach. There's a lot of work I had to do that really probably shouldn't have fallen on me, but should have been on this coaching staff. But there needs to be a dedicated coach. And so with that, I also want to mention that women's wrestling is the fastest growing sport, and that is why it was sanctioned in North Carolina. And so because of everything I've just explained, I hope that you would consider my request to fund a coach and assistant coach for our team, and to support all of our high schools with the same funding requests. I want equal access for all of our high schools. Me and other high schools, we're all working together to recruit females. I have been going to school functions for every sport with flyers. I've been meeting with my coaches, I've been meeting with teachers, I've been getting it up on the school everywhere. We have girls that want to come out. I already have 5 or 6 that are showing up to these practices, even though we're practicing next to the boys. So there's going to be a team no matter what. But it would just be so amazing to know that there's a dedicated coach and support with our public school system with funding to make that possible. And then lastly, please come out and see us. West Carteret, we just got and expanded our wrestling room. And we'd also love for you to come out to our tournaments and matches. We have lots of tournaments across our county, and y'all can see the first ever women's wrestling teams compete. So thank you.
I know your dad real well, and I've watched your career through his eyes. I want to tell you how proud I am of you. Thank you for coming tonight and advocating for yourself, and we'll see what we can do for you. You're welcome.
Good luck. Do I have a motion to approve the amended consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Mull. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Day. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Blair Probst for second read.
Right before you, the second read policies, these policies are local revisions to our, to two policies that reflect current practices required for high school athletes regarding their attendance. These came before you last month. There have been no new changes to the policies. You have to answer any questions you have?
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve policy revision for second read?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Chadwick.
Second.
And second by Ms. Statler. All in favor, raise your right hand. That is 6-1. And you're up again, Mr. Brooks.
All right, first read policies. These policies contain several core significance. The majority were held back for a number of reasons. Some correlated with policies we had not approved yet. There was also some that we held on to for further review. The underlying reasons for these policies are the same as always. These are revisions that reflect modifications in state board policy, changes in federal and state legislation, and judicially created and tested, established in case law. Not really things to bring to your attention. I will tell you about policy 5008, automated phone and text messaging. If you notice, this one had a significant amount of revisions. The majority are to address compliance issues with the revisions of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991. Basically, it requires us to go back and look at how we send information via pre-recorded phone calls to staff and parents. So we're going to have to look at that because we really have to get consent from parents in order to send those phone calls. So we're going to go back and take a look at that practice and work on that as well. That's all for the second read. I will tell you that next month I'll be bringing policies to you that will correlate with the Parent Bill of Rights legislation that came out. That's some significant legislation. We received policies in regards to that legislation after these were submitted to you for this board meeting. Some of that we need to do some local revision to or add to it, but I'll be sitting down and making sure that we're taking a look at it before we bring it to you, because we'll have to get those policies probably approved on the first read in order to be in compliance with legislative deadlines. That's all I have for second read.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, do we also need consent in order to send emails that contain that same information that we're doing via phone right now?
That policy particularly just applies to pre-recorded phone calls and text messages. And it actually goes out to anytime it goes to a wireless phone, or if it's sent and it's not an emergency and it's sent 3 times within 30 days. And that's just the legislation that came. It didn't say anything about emails.
Personal preference. I'd love to see the inclusion of emails being sent rather than, or in addition to, phone calls when it comes to information that we want to get out to parents about any kind of school-related stuff. I'd love to see that. I know right now a lot of times people, when you get your phone call, you're in the middle of dinner or whatever, and there's too many times, just like that. But with something like an email, that is another push system that we would be able to at least do it on our own time. So I'd love to see that. Right now, when I've inquired about it before, it seems like we haven't had all the parents' email addresses, or there were some reasons why we haven't done that, but I'd like to see that implemented. I think it's probably time.
And just to clarify, that was for first read, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Paler, you are up with bond projects.
So first, I'll give you an update on the capital. This year, we're painting 2 schools, and that painting started in summer. And those schools were White Oak Elementary School and Broad Creek Middle School. And both of those schools are about 95% complete. We're down to some outside work. Also, this is the beginning of the school year, so this is when Kenny's in planning phases. So he's planning all the capital projects for the year. I'm trying to get POs secured to purchase the capital items. And something like we do every year is like the mulch that will start next week being delivered to playgrounds, so refreshing up the mulch and all that. So he's planning all those capital projects, and then we'll roll them out as the year goes along. For the bond, Croatan High School and Carteret Preschool Center, those buildings are occupied and off to a good start. Both of those buildings are down to a punch list. So we're tweaking, like at Croatan, we're having some issues with the controls, trying to make sure that the temperature is regulated in every classroom. So we're down to that, but the students are there and it's going well at both of those places. At Broad Creek Middle School, the cafeteria expansion project is coming along well, and they're also have started on the addition out back. That foundation is in. They've got a couple of rows of blocks up and backfilling, so that project is coming along nicely. The security walls at Morehead City Middle School, Beaufort Middle School, East Carteret High School, and Down East Middle and Smyrna are complete. There's some tweaks to be made at each of those, so we're down to a punch list at those schools. At Morehead Elementary School, the front security wall is complete. They're working on the inside vestibule there. So when parents come in, they're led into a little holding area, so to speak. And we've moved the receptionist over across the hall so that she will greet people when they come in the door there. At the back of the school, that security wall, the wall itself is complete. We're waiting on the gate to be completed, but that'll be completed within the next week. So it'll be done at Morehead L. And then finally, the next project that will go out to bid will be the West Carteret High School project, and that should go out soon for bids. Any questions?
Yeah, I did want to say that I do like the updates on social media because it does allow the public who doesn't attend meetings or watch our meetings to see that. I do appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right, and superintendent comments.
Yes, good evening. We've had a great start to the school year. Take away the hurricane from last week, and I would say that everything was very smooth, minus that. Our administrators worked diligently throughout the summer, and our teachers and staff returned ready to go to work. While we've been out visiting schools and in classrooms, the Central Services team has noted the energy, the excitement, and the enthusiasm in each school, so we're happy to see that. The state assessment results will be released to the public tomorrow. Our CNI team and our schools have already received some of that information, and they're working through the data there. We will share that with you in an upcoming board meeting and go through the data like we normally do. Today marked our 6th day of school. As of today, we had 8,035 students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Next week is National Arts and Education Week. We look forward to celebrating this week with our students and staff. And we are looking forward to an outstanding school year. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Paylor. Do I have any comments from board members? I would like to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I don't take for granted a normal school year. A couple of years ago, we were not starting a normal school year, so it's nice to see everybody moving along, and even with a little blip last week, everything went smoothly. So if that is it, do I have a motion to adjourn? All right, I have a motion by Mr. Goodwin.
Second that.
And by Mr. Jenkins. All in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming. Okay.